Hello guys, today's March 25th, 4:32 p.m. always. Let's continue our Christmas Carol book reading series. That is another fellow, muttered Scrooge, who overheard him. My clerk, with 15 shillings a week and a wife and family, talking about a Merry Christmas. I'll retire to Bedlam. I'll retire, I'll retire to Bedlam. This lunatic, in letting Scrooge's nephew out, had let two other people in. They were portly gentlemen, pleasant to behold, and now stood with their hats off in Scrooge's office. They had books and papers in their hands and bowed to him. Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Scrooge and Marley's, I believe, said one of the gentlemen, referring to his list. Have I have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley? Mr. Marley had been dead this Mr. Marley had Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years, Scrooge replied. He died 7 years ago, this very night. We have no doubt his liberality we have no doubt his, we have no doubt his liberality. We have no doubt his liberality is well represented by his surviving partner, said the gentleman, representing his credentials. It certainly was, for they had been two kind It certainly was, for they had been two kindred spirits. At the ominous word liberality, at the ominous word, at the ominous word liberality, at the ominous word liberality, at the ominous word liberality, Scrooge frowned and shook his head and handed the credentials back. At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, said the gentleman, taking up a pen, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute, who suffer greatly at the present time. Many thousands are in want of common necessaries. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comforts, sir. Are there no prisons? Asked Scrooge. Plenty of prisons, said the gentleman, laying down the pen again. And the onion workhouses? Demanded Scrooge. Are they still in operation? They are, still, returned the gentleman. I wish I could say they were not. The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor then. The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor then, said Scrooge. Both very busy, sir. Oh, I was afraid, from what you said at first, that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course, said Scrooge. I am very glad to hear it. Under the impression that this scarcely furnished Christian tear of mine or body to the multitude, returned the gentleman. A few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and mats of warmth. We chose this time because it is a time of all others, when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. Well, what shall I put you down for? Nothing, Scrooge replied. You wish to be anonymous? I wish to be left alone, said Scrooge. Since you ask me what I wish, gentlemen, this is my answer. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can afford to make idle people merry. I help support the establishments I have mentioned. They cost enough, and those who are badly off must go there. Many can't go there, and many would rather die. If they would rather die, said Scrooge, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population, and decrease the surplus population. Besides, excuse me, I don't know that. But you might know it, observed the gentleman. It's not my business, Scrooge returned. It is enough is enough for it is enough for a man it is enough for a man to understand his own businesses. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere with other people's mind occupies. It is enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, gentlemen, seeing clearly that he would seeing clearly that it would be useless to seeing clearly that it would be useless to pursue their point, the gentleman withdrew. The Scrooge resumed his labors with an improved opinion of himself, and a more facetious temper than was usual with him. Meanwhile, the fog and darkness thickened so that people ran about with flaring links, preferring their services to go before preferring their, preferring their services to go before horses and carriages, and conduct them on their way. The ancient tower of a church, whose gruff old bell was always peeping slyly down at Scrooge out of a Gothic window in the wall, the ancient tower of a church, whose gruff old bell was always peeping slyly down at Scrooge out of a Gothic window in the wall, became invisible and struck the hours and quarters in the clouds with tremendous, with tremulous, with tremulous vibrations afterwards, as if its teeth were chattering, as if its teeth were chattering in its frozen head up there. The cold became intense. In the main street, at the corner of the court, some laborers were repairing the gas pipes and had lighted a great fire in a brazier, round which a party of ragged men and boys were gathered, warming their hands and winking their eyes before the blazing rapture. The water plug being left in solitude, its overflowing suddenly congealed and turned to misanthropic eyes. The brightness of the shops, where holly sprigs and berries crackled in the lamp heat of the windows, made pale faces rud as they passes. Poulterers and grocers' trade became a splendid joke, a glorious pageant with which was next to impossible to believe that such dull principles as bargain and sale had anything to do. The Lord Mayor, in the stronghold of the mighty mansion house, gave orders to his 50 cooks and butlers to keep Christmas as a Lord Mayor's household should, and even the little tailor, whom he had fined 5 shillings on the previous Monday for being drunk and bloodthirsty in the streets, stirred up to morose pudding in his garret, while his lean wife and the baby sallied out to buy the beef. Foggier yet and colder. Foggier yet and colder. Piercing, searching, biting cold. If the good Saint Dunstan had but nipped the evil spirit's nose with a touch of such weather as that, instead of using his familiar weapons, then indeed he would have roared to lusty purpose. The owner of one scanty young nose gnawed and mumbled by the hungry cold as bones are gnawed by dogs. He stooped down at Scrooge's keyhole to regale him with a Christmas carol, where the first sound of God bless you, merry gentlemen, made nothing you dismay. Scrooge seized the ruler with such energy of action that the singer fled in terror, leaving the keyhole to the fog and even more congenial leaving the keyhole to the fog and even more congenial frost. At length, at length the hour, at length, at length the hour of shutting up the counting house arrived. With a new ill, Scrooge dismounted from his stool and tacitly admitted the fact to the expectant clerk in the tank, who instantly snuffed his candle out and put on his hat. "You'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose," said Scrooge. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop it at the length of the hour and start next time with the next episode of um, A Christmas Carol. Till next time.